this is $1 billion potentially that'll come out of the wallets of Australian farmers, and particularly what that does is flow through to regional communities.
China has slapped a 55% tariff on Aussie beef imports that exceed newly imposed quota levels, sending shockwaves through Australia's cattle industry, fears of another trade war, and putting more than $1 billion a year in exports at risk.
This is something that wasn't Australia being singled out. This is a general position that China has put. We are advocating, as we always do, for Australian industry.
The tariff, which came into effect from January 1st, 2026, was part of a broader move by Beijing to protect its domestic beef industry, which they say has been struggling with oversupply and collapsing prices. China is Australia's second largest market, but Australian beef made up just 8% of China's total beef imports in 2024, with nearly 80% coming from South America.
Any injury that the domestic industry has received in the last few years hasn't necessarily come from Australia. There's other supplies into the market, and the South Americans account for about 80% of beef imports into China. And they're the countries that we have seen a relatively large increase in exports into the market over the last few years. Australia's been there for over a decade now and has been a relatively stable supplier into the market. So there hasn't necessarily been a surge from Australia. And also the beef that we do send there is relatively premium priced. So there's not the ability for us to undercut their domestic producers necessarily.
The tariff is set to run for 3 years and required China to pause key commitments under the China-Australia Free Trade Agreement. Despite the setback, Aussie beef exporters are still better placed than past trade disputes, having diversified into other global markets.
We may see a reduction in domestic beef prices as a result, because you'll see more high-quality beef available within the domestic market.